everyone. This is Statler.
And I'm Waldorf.
And we're here to talk about magical weapons.
Magical weapons. These are the toys.
These are the toys. And we're talking specifically magical weapons in Warhammer. 9th Age, by the way.
Warhammer 9th Age. Gotcha.
All right. I'll start with the giant sword. Similar, a different name in the old game, but basically attacks with this get a +3 strength. It counts as a hand weapon. And it's 50 for a hero and 60 for a lord. Something we talked about in the older version. You'll see in the weapons where you have certain modifications, it changes the ability. Still a nice high strength plus weapon.
It is, but
not one I'm trying to take very often. But
you're paying 60 points to get +1 over a great weapon.
Yes.
Of course, a great weapon if you're going to be striking last.
You're probably in 45 points because the great weapon probably costs 15.
That's true too. Anyway, I've never objected to this item, but I don't think
But there are a lot better choices.
I really don't think I've ever taken this item.
Yeah.
Which the next one on the list, and these are kind of descending order in points, I think is the way they listed them.
From the Lord points.
The next one is the Blade of Strife. It's a hand weapon. You get 3 additional attacks. Simple.
Yeah.
+3 attacks is pretty good if you've got a decent strength guy.
If you happen to have a decent strength guy.
Yep. I like this for if you have a decent strength guy.
And if you have some of these, evil monstrous guys, it's a reasonable option.
Yeah, big, strong, whatever.
Right. Especially on a lord where you can use the extra points to give him protection.
Even if you can get a strength 5 orc, he gets that special bonus of +1 strength in the first round.
Yeah.
Now those 3 additional attacks are at strength 6, which can really thump something.
Yes. Not so good with humans, though.
No. Nope.
Next is the Ogre Sword, 40 points, hand weapon. Like the giant sword, it's +2 strength for 40 points. Great weapon is 15, so you're paying to fight at your initiative value.
Yeah, you're paying quite a bit to get your initiative value.
I actually don't think this is a bad weapon. I can see it being used in a lot of builds if you have a very high initiative.
Yeah, and this also lets you still carry a magic shield or magic armor.
You can still get.
Shield especially
for
to keep your protection.
Protection.
Right.
You probably can afford a protection and an enchanted item. So.
Yeah. The next one is the Skull Splitter. This one is a shooting weapon, range 24 inches, strength 4, with additional armor piercing 1. It gets 4 shots, always hit on 4. Doesn't matter, moving, shooting, range, cover, always hit on 4. So basically you're going to get 2 strength 4 hits on something.
On average.
On average.
Yeah.
It's a nice... I've seen it used as like a chaff repellent item.
I think it's a fun item.
It's a fun item. 40 points makes it beyond the fun item price for me, though.
I think it depends on what your army contains.
Right.
Clearly, if you're elves and you've got ballistic skill shooting out the Tookus.
Yeah, it's not that big of a deal.
To keep this PG here. It's not really of any use to you. But if you got some, poor ballistic skill heroes as such, or that are cheap points, maybe a goblin, it can be helpful to get rid of chaff, as you said.
Yep.
And it is a magic attack.
It is magical attacks.
And there aren't too many magical shooting attacks.
Correct.
So if you're afraid of, if you want to deal with some of these
Spirit Host or
smaller units,
even Hex Race would be really upset about this.
Exactly. And it doesn't care about skirmish.
Correct.
So,
it's always hit on 4.
Exactly.
Always hit on 4 is what makes this
you can hide your guys
fairly decent.
You can have hard targets sitting in the woods and be skirmish, and you're still getting hit on a 4.
Right.
So
yeah, pretty nice.
Yeah. Obsidian Sword, 35 points, another hand weapon. Attacks made with this weapon have armor piercing 6. So the old no armor save sword. This is always an item I liked in 8th edition. I like it now.
Well, it used to be 50 points in 8th edition, too, didn't it?
Yes, it was. It's cheap enough. If you've got a decent strength attack, it's really nice to be able to carve through armor.
Yeah. Even if you're strength 4, if you're going against humans, it's decent.
I think strength 4 is decent.
Right.
Strength 3, I'd probably think twice about it.
Right.
But if you're having challenges in dealing with armored units, this can be an answer for you. or one of the answers.
One of these could be an answer,
Right,
yes.
for only 35 points.
And for 35, there's also the Fencer Swords, which can only be...
Fencer's blades.
Yes. You have to be a model on foot only for this.
Yes.
Paired weapons, so it gives you an extra attack, bumps you to weapon skill 10.
And an extra initiative.
And an extra initiative because it's a paired weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Nice little bonus. Weapon skill 10 means it's going to help you on your defense.
You're almost always going to get hit on almost always going to hit on a 3, unless you happen to be
Yes.
elves being hit on 2. And against a lot of things, it's going to take 5s to hit you.
Yeah.
If
So
you get this and something with distracting, you'd be very survivable.
can you do that? No, I guess you can, can't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a really nice. It's really nice because, like I said, gives you the extra attack and a defensive option. It's a nice multi-use.
Yeah, I mean the old Flinter's blades. It was always nice on things like ogre mages.
Right.
Made them hard to hit, especially with the armor and such.
It was also kind of a standard on that Savage Orc
Yes.
shaman with the with the shrunken head.
Correct.
Yep.
So it still has that ability. Although I think there's been some army creep and weapon skills in a lot of lists. So maybe not quite as effective, but still a reasonable item with the right build in mind.
Yep, I agree.
Which takes us to the Kingslayer, another hand weapon. The wielder gets +1 strength and +1 attack for every enemy character in base contact with the wielder's unit.
Correct.
This is basically
Sword of Heroes, I think.
Sort of anti-heroes?
Anti-heroes.
Yes, sort
Correct.
of anti-heroes, yes. So same as it was before. It's inexpensive. The downside is if you fight blocks that don't have any heroes, you don't get anything except for the magic attacks. But if you got somebody who's got a lot of guys in their unit, it can pile up quite nicely.
Yeah.
So it's a reasonable build. I can see it in certain lists.
Next one is the Axe of Battle for 25 points. This one gives you +2 attacks when using this weapon. 25 points for 2 attacks is pretty good.
Yes.
I mean, same thing applies to the Sword of the Strife or whatever the other one was.
Right.
It's you need to have a decent strength already for this to be useful.
But the Sword of Strife is 45. This is 25.
Correct.
So
yeah, this one you can give to a lower guy just to hope to try to chop through rank and file.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think I'd see this getting more use.
I agree. Because it's 25, the price point's there.
Yeah, price point's there, especially if you have, as we said, a decent strength. It's a wonderful thing. The Beastbane Halberd, I think this is something that's probably getting into a lot of army lists.
Did you add an A in there?
I'm sorry?
Did you go with a halberd?
Did I say halberd?
I think so.
Halberd.
Just checking. Didn't know if that was a new type of weapon
English
or what.
is my second language. I only speak 2 languages, English and badly English.
Yeah.
Okay. Type of weapons halberd, so takes 2 hands to wield it, so you can't use your shield. Attacks made with this weapon have strength 5 always, regardless of modifiers, and have multiple wounds 2 against monsters, ridden monsters, monstrous cavalry, monstrous infantry, monstrous beasts, and chariots. So pretty much everything big.
Yep.
This was really incredible in the earlier versions before they capped it. Now
capped it at strength 5. Yeah, it used to be +1 strength, I think.
Now it's the type of thing. It's better for, I'll call it, a lot of the good guy armies because they tend to have lower strength.
Correct.
So you got humans or elves. You can get up to strength 5 and get the multi wound, which can be very nice. Particularly if you can sit on top of some kind of monster or something, so you can maximize your protection, or have other armor options to get you well protected.
Yeah, I mean,
this is a very nice item.
I mean, the Sword of Strength is 15 points.
Yep.
So you're paying 10 points, which we'll get to in a bit. You're paying 10 points to get the multi-wound benefit out of it, right?
Correct.
I mean, in general.
And losing 1 armor save potentially. But
that's true. I forgot about that point, too.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a nice item. I've always liked this item.
Yes.
Since they came out with it. The Sword of Haste. Sword of Haste, this is a really nice item. 25 points.
Yes.
You gain initiative 10. It's a hand weapon. You get initiative 10.
So you're going first.
So you're going to go first, or at least simultaneous at worst.
Right.
And attacks us with this weapon, always wound on a 4-up.
This is great.
At worst. If you're already stronger, then it wounds on
This
whatever.
is about the same
strength.
points as the old Hydra sword, which only gave you the always strikes first.
Right.
Yeah, but now the hitting on a 4 is a big freaking deal.
Yes.
Especially-
Wounding on a 4.
Wounding on a 4, I'm sorry, is a big, especially if you can get any kind of reroll on top of it. So
Yeah.
this is really nice, I think, for once again, if you got guys that are really strong, they don't really care. But for most guys that are mid to low strength, this is a really nice.
No,
option.
I'm liking this a lot. I'm wondering why I don't use this more. It's a good idea.
Because you're forgetful,
Forgetful. I talk about how good it is, and then I go back and make an army list,
and then you make an 8th edition army list.
and thank you, exactly.
You're living in the past, man.
Because I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about an orc guy, big orc guy with this thing. He's hitting at initiative 10.
Yes.
First round of combat, he'll be strength 6.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I like it in Kingdom Back.
And if you run into something really big, like a Sphinx or whatever, toughness 8.
Yep.
You're still wounding on 4s.
Now, if you have a problem dealing with tough stuff, this is the deal. Now, the downside is it doesn't do anything about armor saves.
Correct.
So if you're going to fight,
That's true.
heavily armored guys, okay, you wounded them, but they still get their armor saved.
Yeah.
So this is really generally more about monsters,
Yes.
and I'll call it lower armored guys. But I like it with Audacity on
Yeah.
Equitane.
Nice weapon.
The Hero's Sword. Is
Yes.
the old names. It's for characters only. This is why this is here is because actually a number of lists champions can take
A 20-point magic
take
item.
magic items. So they're very clear here. This only applies to characters, so those champions can't take this particular one. But in theory, they could take some of the other ones. So it's a hand weapon. Attacks made with the weapon gain +1 strength. And the wielder has +1 attack when using this weapon. When attacking with this weapon, the wielder cannot have more than 4 attacks in strength 5.
So it's capped them both.
So it's capping on the number of attacks. Once again, it's for your humans and your elves and your goblins and things of that nature. But to be able to get an additional attack and an additional strength
For a hero, it's 20 points for
20
that.
points is very nice.
I mean, if you're a lord, it's a 30-point item, but a hero only paying 20 points for this thing.
Yes, no, it is very nice.
This is another fantastic
Paying
weapon.
5 points for a hero over the Sword of Strength.
Yeah. No, this is a fantastic weapon.
Yes.
No doubt. Right?
Yes, it definitely makes it a lot of my lists.
Yeah. The problem with my list with orcs is
You're very limited.
well, I mean, I'm strength 4 already. First round, I'm strength 5, so I'm just losing that +1 strength on the first
For
round.
putting on an orc.
But
putting on a
that's not a
goblin-
huge deal.
Goblin Lord, which is cheap,
Yes, exactly.
it's a very nice weapon choice.
Yeah, I agree. That brings us to the Flesh Render. 20 points. This is a great weapon. Attacks made with this weapon have armor piercing 1. Basically, a great weapon is going to cost you 15 points in general.
Yep.
So you're paying 5 points for an additional point of armor piercing
And the magic attack.
and a magical attack. I'm not enamored with this item. I know from talking to you, I know you think a little bit different with this one than I do, but
Well, I like it if you happen to have a unit that's limited to taking great weapons.
the unit has to take great weapons.
Right.
Okay.
Or has limited choices on the types of weapons they can take. I'm a big believer if you have characters. I always like to have some kind of magic ability
Right.
for the weapons. I still too many games over the years against ethereal items, so
yes.
I always want to be prepared to deal with that. So if you have that kind of, and I think it's a niche weapon. I think if you're taking like Questing Knight Hero, it's a good choice.
Mhm. Yeah.
Would I take it over some of these other choices? Yeah, probably not.
Right.
It's really if I'm limited already, then it's a good way. Or if maybe I'm an elf and I don't care about the great weapon.
Oh, great
Right.
weapon making you strike last.
Right.
Yeah, good point.
Because I'm still going to strike initiative order, and because I need strength. Anything I can get strength on an elf is a good thing.
Yep.
Plus the additional, because you're probably not going to be that strong. You're going to be strength 6. With the additional armor piercing, now you're -4. You can carve a little better.
Okay.
So I do like it, but it is a lot of these weapons to me. They're they're focused on specific types of armor.
Yeah.
High strength armies,
just
low
gotta
strength armies. High attack armies, low attack armies.
Yeah, see your weakness and use one of these to kind of get through that.
Right. Like, I mean, you never give it to a warrior priest, for example. I mean, so
With his 2 attacks.
yeah. So, or mage.
Right. Good point. What do we have? The Blessed Sword.
Mm-hmm.
It is a hand weapon, costs 20 points. Attacks made with this weapon have divine attacks and reroll failed to wound.
Yes.
Another really nice weapon. Rerolling to wound is awesome.
Reroll is incredible.
And you get that wound through, and the guy makes his ward save. Well, that's great. Reroll it.
Yep.
I like this item a lot. And, the Equitane virtue of, what's the old Killing Blow Lord's virtue now called? Whatever that's called now, this weapon is made for that one.
Yeah.
The virtue of might.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, as we said before, rerolls are precious in Ninth Age now.
They are.
So you can get them on particularly on wounding, which is a big deal. That's something that it's a big plus. And the divine attacks are just a little bit of gravy.
Yeah.
But you do have to have the right guy for it. If you don't have a special, attribute like Kingdom of Equitane, then you need to have a decent strength. Otherwise, you're not going to get to the armor again. You have to think about that.
Right.
And it doesn't necessarily help you against rank and file guys. So it is like a lot of these weapons, it's more of a tailored item.
Yeah. You're right.
Sword of Strength, same as it was before, +1 strength, 15 points. This one, I used to take this a lot in, I think it was a sort of might before.
Yeah.
I used to take this a lot in 8th edition because it was cheap, and it costs about the same points as a great weapon. So.
Yeah, but you don't lose the initiative order thing.
Right. So it depends. Once again, I'm playing it. Frankly, if I'm playing with my Sylvanels, I'm probably taking the great weapon.
Right.
I don't care unless I'm limited. I'd rather have the +2 and with without the +1 to hit. So it depends on what you got going on.
Yeah.
It's I think really nice if you're already have a good strength that puts you over the threshold.
Yeah.
And once again, if you have a good initiative. So it just depends who you're playing with, but it's an okay weapon.
The Sword of Skill for 15 points, hand weapon that gives you +1 to hit. Okay, that's nice, but you've got to already be strong for this to really kick in. I think +1 to hit's not that big of a deal.
I think 15 points is too much for it.
Probably.
I don't see this as being used that often.
I agree.
Unless you have something that auto wounded. So. Flaming Lance, 10 points. It's a lance. It's the only lance in this list. Attacks made with this weapon have flaming attacks.
Yeah, this is not as good as it used to be because it used to be that the guy who gave your character the flaming lance, he would wound because he's higher initiative. He would get the wound through on something, and the unit could knock the regen down.
Through.
But that's no longer the case.
Right.
Still a nice thing to have. It's again magical attacks.
Yes.
Which will help. Not great, but
yeah, I think it's okay. But I think the people who want lance attacks have better options.
Right. The next one is Screaming Swords for 10 points. Paired weapons and causes fear. Fantastic choice for 10 points.
I love this weapon.
10 points, I think it's great.
I think this should end up in a lot of, once again.
+1 initiative, +1 attack for the paired weapons.
And a -1
drop your
leadership for your opponent.
And drops them by 1 leadership.
Which all by itself is worth the 10 points.
Correct.
If not more.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is nice. You have to think about how you protect your guy and what his purpose is, but I really like it for the points.
Yep.
The Razor Blade. Models
Helps you shave.
Models with this get a very close shave.
Yeah, there you go. It's about it, actually.
Yeah. So you gain the armor piercing.
Yeah.
One special rule. This is the old
Biting blade, I think.
Yeah, the biting blade. Thank you. It's a nice, really cheap magic weapon.
It's just the 5 points to give you the ability to hit something that requires magic.
Right.
Right.
Now I do say that I do believe there's a lot more options for weapons for character, mundane options in Ninth Age
There are.
than you saw in You saw an
8th edition. Yeah.
So I do think that that does trim some of the excitement of magic weapons to a certain degree. Because it used to be you could take these really small point ones, and because you didn't have a lot of options.
Right.
But now now the Monday weapons are rather expensive if they do anything of any consequence. So you have to think about that. So some of these weapons aren't quite as necessary, maybe as they were in 8th.
Right.
But I think overall, a lot of them are nice. A lot of them are situational. There's a few I think are a couple duds, but and there's some that are almost auto take. It just depends on the list.
Yep.
But I like the list.
All right. Well, that's magical weapons.